talking about explaining steps in a process. Good. Hi, everybody on YouTube and on Facebook. My name is Alicia, and welcome back to our weekly live stream. Today, we are talking about explaining steps in a process. So I made this lesson with the hope that it would be useful for your presentations and for writing. So a lot of you have asked about how to improve your writing. So today I'm going to talk about some sequence words, some transition words you can use to connect your ideas. And then I'm going to talk about a grammar point, an if-when grammar point. And then finally, I'm going to show you a sample presentation or a sample kind of short report that maybe can help you as you prepare similar pieces of writing. So we're going to start in about 2 minutes or so. So as you join, please send a message in the chat. Please like the video and of course share it too. That would be great. I'm going to share it for sure. We're getting everything ready. I see a lot of people on YouTube, I think. Hi, I think it just started on YouTube. A few people are in the chat. Facebook, it looks like Facebook is up as well. Great. Hi, everyone. Tich and Sadio and Abir and Slavenko. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Great. I will go share it as well. And then we'll start once everybody has a chance to join. Great. It looks like YouTube is now live too. Hi, Rogerio. Hi, La. Hi, Manny. Hi, Ahmed. Hi, Yu Jung. RG. I don't sleep. I do sleep. I was sleeping a few hours ago. That's the magic of the internet. Hi, everybody. I am doing well. How are you? Oh, wow. From Mexico. Hello. Ivan says this is not live. Oh, it is live. It is live, Ivan. Hello, Viviana from Colombia. Great. We have many people watching, as always. Fantastic. If you missed the first introduction, today we're talking about explaining steps in a process. Explaining steps in a process. So I'm going to start in about 1 minute. I need to share the video too, so that other people can find it. Share. Great. Okay, so while we wait for others to join us, a quick, share of something else. If you have not checked the English Class 101 channel in about 12 hours, there is a new video up, the Know Your Verb series. This is really, really fun to make. I love this series. If you don't know this series, we focus on one verb and then we talk about many different ways, different meanings, like different variations of that verb. So there are some phrasal verbs in this series, which many of you have talked about. But there's a new one up on the channel now, so please check out the hold episode of Know Your Verbs. My very first example sentence was actually kind of funny. I got a kick out of that last night. Anyway, that's up. So please go check that out. And of course, all the other stuff that's up on the channel too. So watch Know Your Verbs. Know about the verb hold. All right, with that then, let's get going into today's lesson. Today's lesson is explaining steps in a process. So I'm going to begin over here. And I'll slow down with speaking a little bit. I'm going to begin here by reviewing some sequence words. And by sequence words, I mean like words we use to explain steps. So like the first one that I have here is first. So your first step, number one, step number one. If you have other ideas for sequence words, there are a lot. Please send them in the chat and I will try to add them in on the board. So I've arranged this so that it's like the first step is here and then maybe the last step is down here. So let's take a look at these sequence words. And I also want to talk about some things you should keep in mind, especially when you're writing. So I mentioned this already. This word first. Of course, first means like number one, thing number one in your presentation or in your like written report. When you're writing, make sure to always use the same style of like first, second, and third, for example. So if you begin by saying first, then you should continue on to second and third. So I'm making this point because sometimes what I see is people will use first and then they change to secondly, thirdly. So there are two different ways that we can explain these steps. So you can say first, second, third, or you can say, here, let me use red, or you could say like firstly, secondly, thirdly. Both are fine, but just don't mix the two. If you want to use only the black color words, great, just use that. But don't mix the two that have the ly endings. So this is especially important for writing. It can sound, or it can look a little bit strange if you mix up these two. Almendra on Facebook says, why do people say first off instead of just saying first? First off sounds more casual, actually. So first off, it sounds kind of rough, a little bit rough, and a little bit more casual than first. So that's why people say first off, first off. Okay, if you have other questions, please send them. I'll try to catch everything. Can't promise. Okay. So on to the next group. So the next sequence word or transition word here is just next, next. So just step 2 or step 3, whatever. You can use next and then throughout your presentations and throughout your writing. So it's a great, these are two great, very versatile. Versatile means you can use them in many different ways, versatile. So these are words that you can use in so many different situations. They're great connecting words to show you're going to the next step. This one, after that, where that here refers to the thing you just said. So like when I begin this live stream, I say, first I'm going to talk about sequence words. After that, I'm going to talk about if and when. So after that means after the thing I just said. In this case, after I explain sequence words. Okay. Juan on YouTube says, is it correct to say first of all? Yeah, sure. First of all can sound a little bit like you're maybe a little angry or a little like you're explaining something to someone because they made a mistake. So be careful with that. Okay. So I've explained after that. I want to move on to this next group though, right here. They all begin with once, you'll notice, once. So that's the pronunciation here. Yeah, we've zoomed in, thank you. So once you've done that, or once you've finished that, or once that's complete. So here I want to like kind of look quickly at this grammar point. Once you've done that, once you've. I know that this is something that's difficult for people to hear. Once you've, not once you, once you've done that. So this you've is once you have done that, once you have finished that. So again, this that refers to a previous point that you explained, once you've done that. These are, and this one as well, these are good when you're explaining a process. So for example, like a recipe. So add the milk to your dough, for example. Once you've done that, so that means after the previous thing is finished, go to the next step. So I'll show you an example of this a little bit later. But a pronunciation point for your presentations is once you've done that, or once you've finished that. And then this one down here, once that's complete. Once that's complete. The spelling here is THAT''S. That's. Here, this is different grammar. Once that is complete, or you might hear once that's been completed. There are a couple of different ways to say this, but they communicate the same idea. It just means after the last thing is finished. That's what this means. But these sound quite natural because we're connecting to the previous statement with the use of words like this or that. Okay. Let's see. Other questions. Once you've finished the video, I'm going to practice it. Cool. Or maybe once you've finished the video, I'm going to review it. That would be a nice natural thing to say. Okay, I'm going to continue on. The next pair, I'm going to talk a lot about this point in part 2. So the next pair are, first, if we can do that. So I've made this kind of as a presentation or a group related example. You'll notice I'm using here we. If we can do that. If we can do that. That means if it's possible for us to do something. If it's possible for us to achieve something. That's like, this is a way of sharing an unreal thing. So something that has not happened yet, but you're thinking about it. So this is useful for a plan or maybe a proposal, if we can do that. Okay, the next one in this pair is when that's done. When that's done. So you'll notice the same thing here I talked about with once that's complete, when that's done. They really mean the same thing, this when. So using when means we have some expectation. I'm going to talk about this later. So we think it's definitely going to happen. Similar to once as well. We use these in the same way. And someone I think asked about like done and complete and finished. In this case, we use them in the same way when we're talking about explaining steps in a process. There are some other cases where like finish and complete can have like different meanings. But for today's lesson, let's just focus on them meaning something is finished. It's 100%. Okay. Finally, that's perfect. Finally, these last two here, they are last and finally. Last and finally. And you can use this lastly if you want. But they just we use these before we introduce our very last point. So I just said, finally, to introduce these last two words. So this is a quick review of some common transition and some common sequence-related words. I don't see any other points in the chat. Oh, hey, Junior. Hi, Alicia. Can I say when this lesson is all wrapped up, I'll eat dinner? Yeah, nice, good. Yep. All wrapped up. So Junior used, if you're in the YouTube chat, Junior used the expression all wrapped up. So that's a casual way to say finished. That comes from like present wrapping. So it's like when a present is finished, it's all wrapped up. This is the verb we use for present, to wrap. So all wrapped up. Nice one. Okay. Other things. All right, I don't see other points. So I'm going to take a quick break and then we'll go on to talking about if and when. So this week again, actually, I'm not going to show you PDFs this week, but if you missed it, last week we had this Black Friday sale, but the team has extended it for one more day. Is that right? Or it's for the last spaces, I think. I think it's the last spaces. So if you missed this last week's deal, Black Friday is one of like the really, really big sale days in the US culture and like in US shopping culture. So if you missed it, there's a really, really big sale on the website. Oh, okay, so it's like the last spots. There were only 101 available, I guess, so it's the last ones. Okay, so check this out. This is for the subscriptions on the English Class 101 website. So please have a look. If you want to get this, you can check the link below the video on YouTube and above the video on Facebook. So go grab this. You can find, I think there's monthly and yearly deals you can grab there. So check it out. Okay, good. With that being said, let's continue on in the lesson. For those of you asking, yes, this lesson is live. Hello, Edwin. Yes, it is live. Someone, Lamai, said, when do we use lastly? You use lastly before you introduce your last point in your presentation. So I used last, I think. You can say lastly too. That's fine. Okay, let's continue on. If you're just joining, send a message in the chat. Like the video, share the video. As always, we really appreciate it. We're talking about explaining steps in a process. Okie dokie. Let's go on to part 2 of today's lesson. I want to focus in this part on a grammar point that I've noticed has occasionally caused some confusion, I suppose. It is the difference between if and when. If and when. So, very, very simply, we use if there is a chance something can happen. So if is used to talk about an unreal situation. It has not happened, but there's a chance it's going to happen in the future. If. When, on the other hand, is something that is like 100% going to happen. There's an expectation. It's something that's expected to happen. So, using these correctly can be very, very important because it can communicate, or not, your expectation to the listener or to your reader. So let's look at a few examples. First, let's look at if. So remember, these are all expressions we use for unreal situations. That means it's not true. It has not happened, but there is a chance that it could happen. So for example, if I have time, I'll call you. If I have time. So there's only a chance I will have time. If I do, I'll call you. Or if we can finish this, we can go for dinner. Something like that. Or if he arrives early, we can get a drink together. So these are all unreal situations. They have not happened. We're just like talking about a chance. So I mentioned this in part 1 over here, this sequence word thing. If we can do that, that means there's just a chance. There's not necessarily an expectation of something. Let's compare this then to when. When. So as I said, when is like, this is a future expectation. A future expectation. So we think there's a 100% chance this thing is going to happen. We want to communicate that expectation. So some examples of this. When I get to the office. So that means 100% I'm going to arrive at the office. So when I get to the office, please make some copies. So, I don't know, that's a weird request. So when I get to the office, I'll go to my desk. Something simple is fine. Another example. When she calls, give her the information. Again, there's an expectation here. We know this is going to happen. There's a plan. When she calls, give her the information. Okay, and finally, when we leave, like when we leave, don't forget your wallet. Or when we leave, please pay the bill. So these are all things that we expect to happen. There's a 100% chance that thing is going to happen. So I want to show an example of where making a mistake with this could cause a problem. So it's quite small. Sorry, I think we might have to zoom in again. You just zoomed out, sorry. So I want to show a situation where making a mistake could cause a problem. A key word here is the word break up. Break up. So to break up means to end a romantic relationship. So to stop dating someone, to break up. Let's compare these two sentences. The first sentence is, if we break up, I'll be sad. I'll be sad. If we break up, I'll be sad. The second sentence, when we break up, I'll be sad. So why is this weird? Why does this cause a problem? If means there's just a chance. The speaker is saying like, if this unreal situation happens, I'll be sad. The speaker is expressing just a chance of something. However, in this sentence, when we break up, I'll be sad. If you use when in this sentence, it means you expect your relationship to end. You expect to break up with the other person. So in many cases, this is probably not a good thing to say if you want to continue in your relationship. So chance, expectation. This is an example of where it could cause a problem. In other situations, it can cause a little bit of confusion, like saying, if I have time, I'll call you, or when I have time, I'll call you. So these are very small choices, but they communicate expectation or no expectation to the listener. So please be careful in your writing and in your presentations and in your conversations about which one you choose here. Okay. Other things, nice example sentences. Jonathan says, if you continue making videos, I'll watch them all, or I'll see them all. Nice. Okay. I don't see other questions or other examples. Okay, good. So as I mentioned before too, this if and when point is used when you're explaining your sequence, when you're explaining those steps in a process. So I introduced originally, if we can do that, meaning a chance. And here, when that's done. So here that means there's an expectation that thing is going to be finished. Okay, good. Don't see any other points. Someone, Almendra on Facebook says, if I were to be, is that right to say? It could be. It may be. It kind of depends on the sentence. I'm not sure exactly. So perhaps I would need to see a full sentence. Other points. I don't see anything else, other questions. Okay, so I will take one very quick break. If you're just joining us then, I mentioned this earlier in today's live lesson, but there is one final chance to get the Black Friday deal that we had on the live stream and on the website and on our YouTube channel last week. If you missed it, you can get this 51% off the subscriptions on the English Class 101 website. So you can find the link for this below the video on YouTube, above the video on Facebook, and I think our chat desk is sending links in the YouTube chat, maybe Facebook chat as well. So check that out. If you missed it last week, you can find it here. And if you're watching on Instagram, you can find the links on YouTube and Facebook and other places on our website too, I think. So if you're watching on Instagram, please go to YouTube, please go to Facebook to get this. So, sorry, we don't have a link on Instagram, I don't think. So check this out. I think you can find things on monthly and on yearly basis there. Alrighty, other things. I don't see other questions yet. I will try to check. Let's continue on. The final point, finally, in today's lesson, I want to talk about, or I want to introduce rather, like a sample presentation or a sample report. So I want to put everything together that we talked about in this lesson and show you how something just simple could be explained. Before I do that though, I want to give a quick reminder, some quick grammar reminders about your presentations or your reports. There are 3 points here. I've mentioned here past tense, present perfect tense, and future tense. So simple past tense. Remember, we use simple past tense for actions that started and finished in the past. So nothing in the future. It's not continuing to the future. It started and it finished in the past. So I talked about sequence words. I talked about if and when. Those are finished actions. Then the second grammar point here is present perfect tense. Present perfect tense. I know many of you have questions about this. So a reminder, we use present perfect tense for something that started in the past and continues to the present, or the effects of that action continue to the present. So this is something that's continuing. And we can use the continuous form here to really emphasize the continuing nature of that thing. Final point, future tense, simple future tense, like I will or I'm going to. I plan to. We use these to talk about our next steps. So your plans, like the things you're going to do after your presentation. So let us look at a sample. Oh wow, on screen this is just a giant block of text. So I'm gonna read it and I'm gonna make some points while we read this through. First, here is kind of my my presentation point. So I'm going to tell you about this. So we made some Q&A videos yesterday. We made some Q&A videos. Q&A videos, thanks. These are the Ask Alicia videos that come out once a week. So we made some Q&A videos yesterday. This is my topic. So I'm going to explain the steps of making the Q&A videos. You'll notice past tense here. So I'm going to start by saying first, as I said over here, to introduce my first step. First, I read. Remember, read and read have the same spelling, but the pronunciation is different. So first, I read questions you sent. First, I read questions you sent. That's my first step. Then I made this comment. You've been sending them for a year. So I'm giving some extra information here. So you've, in this case you, the viewers, the people watching, you've been sending them for a year. So the series has been continuing for a year. So that means starting in the past and continuing to now, you have continuously sent questions for that series. So here, them means your questions. You've been sending them for a year. Then, so here I'm moving to my next step there, my next point. Then I chose a few to answer. So past tense, this is something that finished. I chose a few questions. I chose a few to answer. Following that, I have here after that, or I just said following that. After that, we came to the studio to shoot the videos. After that, we came to the studio. Here's my past tense. My connection, my sequence word is right here. After that, we came to the studio to shoot the videos. So I've included the videos here just to be specific. I could say we came to the studio to shoot, but I want to be specific. What did we shoot? The videos. The next point, here. So I've got once this lesson is finished. Once this lesson is finished, that means once this lesson, this live lesson is finished, or once this lesson has finished is also okay. I'll edit the videos. So I'm expressing a future point. I'll edit, or I'm going to edit the video. So here I'm changing my tenses. I'm changing to a future tense expression because I'm talking about my plans. Then, my last point here is finally. Finally. So I'm introducing my last point with finally. Finally, I'll send it to the team, where it is the video here. I'll send it to the team. So here you can see my major steps. First, then, after that, once, finally. So it's easy to find the major steps in my presentation or in my report because I've used these specific sequence words. So these are things that your listener and your reader can look for to understand where in the sequence you are, like what step in the process it is. So these are helpful for you for organizing your ideas, for organizing your thoughts, but they're also helpful for the people that you're trying to communicate with so that they can understand. So this is just a really simple example of how to use these words naturally to make a presentation. Okay, so maybe you guys can use this. You can try to send an example if you want in the chat for sure. I'll try to read it if you can get it in the next 2 minutes or so. So this is what I wanted to cover today, but if you have any questions about this topic, please also send those in the chat. I will try to check them and answer them somehow, somewhere. Otherwise, yeah, you can send them to Ask Alicia too, and we'll look at them there. But I have to wrap up for today, so I'll end there, I suppose. I'm actually on time. My goodness, it's gotten into me. I didn't talk too much. Wow. Okay. We'll end there for today. So thank you, as always, for joining us. If you missed today's lesson, don't worry. It was recorded. You can watch this anytime on YouTube or on Facebook. Next week, we'll be back. We'll be here again next week. Next week's topic is explaining problems. Explaining problems. So I've planned a lesson that's about like when you make a mistake. Like I made a mistake with, or I don't know how to, or whatever. So I'm going to talk about how to explain problems and like mistakes next week. So please join us Wednesday. Oh, that's easier to see when I stand right there. When I'm not standing there, it's hard to see. Okay, so join us next week, Wednesday. That will be at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is New York City time. New York City time, please Google it to find your local time. We will talk about explaining problems. So that will be next week, December 6th is Thursday? December 5th is the Wednesday night, I think? No? I believe. Whatever Wednesday is. I think Wednesday. Wednesday is the 5th, I feel like. Anyway, Wednesday. Next week, Wednesday. Please join us. Wednesday the 5th for this lesson at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to explain your problems. So that will be a good one. Okay, that was fun. So thank you guys so much. Thank you everybody for joining us this week live. It was great to see all your messages and your questions. I hope that you can use this in preparing your reports and your writing and your presentations. So I'm going to go now. Don't forget to check out the Black Friday sale if you have not already. Thank you so much for liking the video and for sharing the video. We really, really appreciate it, and it's great to connect with so many people around the world. Enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy the rest of your night or day, and we will see you again next week. Bye-bye.